Hello again. You may have watched as I made one of these notebooks for a couple of the groups that I'm in, and I've had a request to show you how I made the folder that you can store up to 3 of these books in. So I'm going to take a little time today to show you how that you can put one of these together. So this is the size that will fit the original notebook that I made, but I also have made a larger wallet style book that will hold art books. It's the same concept. So I'm very quickly going to show you how to make the original notebook. So you take an A3 sheet of paper and you fold it landscape, and you fold it portrait, and then you fold again and you cut along this line here from the fold, and then as you lift up and push together, you've created yourself a little notebook. I did create a much longer detailed video, and I will include the link below for you in case you need to see that as a step-by-step tutorial. But to make this project today, you will need 3 of the inside signature booklets, and to make the wallet folder itself you will need some Greyboard. So I use the Greyboard from the old Craftwork card paper pads, very good quality, and it will work for this just fine. So you're going to start off with 2 pieces of Greyboard that measure 5 inches by 6.5 inches. The length of all of these pieces of paper will be 6.5, but I'll give you the other dimensions. Then you're going to need a piece that will act as your spine, and this measures 2 inches by 6.5 inches, but I'll give you the details of how you mark up the spine a bit later on. So to decorate the outside of your book, you're going to need 2 more pieces the same size, so that's 5 inches by 6.5 inches. And then when you come to the stage where you want to put the spine on, you make the spine piece slightly wider because you're going to wrap it around the cardboard. So this spine here is 3.25 inches wide by 6.5 inches long. To decorate the inside, again it's 6.5 inches long, but it's slightly wider at 5.25 inches, and this is to give you a little bit of wiggle room when you want to create the spine. Having made 2 or 3 of these, I have discovered that it's easier to work from the spine. So you remember that the measurements for the spine were 2 inches by 6.5 inches. I will leave the dimensions up on the screen for you, but at this point I'm sorry, I need to move over to metric measurements because the inches were too hard to see. So these markings here are actually a 0.5 or half a centimetre in from the top and the bottom, and then from that line there you need to measure at 1 centimetre 2.5, 2.5 centimeters and 4 centimeters, and you do that on the top and the bottom, and you leave yourself a little mark, and then you come 8 centimeters or thereabouts down this center point at 2.5 centimeters, and you give yourself another little mark here. Okay, so it's 1 centimeter, 2.5 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and then this mark here is along the 2.5 centimeter line at 8 centimeters. And what you need to do is to make yourself some holes, because you're going to create an elasticated binding here for the notebooks to sit in. Let me just show you quickly here. So what you're doing is you're creating this part for your books to slip in under, and then they will hold in place. On this particular one I used string or twine, but I have since discovered that if you get elasticated string, then you've got a far greater chance of giving the book movement. So learn from my errors and try and get yourself something like this, these elasticated. If you've got any trouble finding them, then I'll do my best to give you a link from Amazon. So what you need to do with this spine is you're going to make yourself some holes. So you're going to go over this crisscross point and make yourself the holes along here, which will then be the point that you'll thread your elasticated string through. So it will be something like this. So let me move on. So all I did was I took a piece of the elasticated webbing and I threaded up and down and up and down and up and down, and then I tied it at the back. You'll also make a hole here, but at this stage you want to leave this open, because we need to stick the outside of the spine to our piece of paper and refill this hole. It's easier than I'm probably making it sound, but if you've got any problems, then just drop me a line in the comments below and I'll do my best to help you out. So that's your spine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start putting our folder together. Now the easiest way that I found to do this was to get myself some washi tape. We're in lockdown at the moment, so I haven't got any rubber tape. So really you want something as heavy duty as you can work with, but for the purposes of this, then I used washi tape because it's still sticky enough. And what you're going to do is you're going to stick this spine to the two covers. So this is your front cover and this is your back cover. You're now at the point where you want to stick the front cover and the back cover to the spine. So I use a measuring mat. I've got a glass mat on my main desk, but I'll try and show you the idea behind the measuring. So I put a ruler down and I butt these pieces to the base of the ruler, but then I also want to make sure that this area here that's like the gully is equal. So I take something like a stamp base and I place that against the ruler, and then I know that I've got the correct dimension between the spine and the back cover, and then I will move it over and I'll do the same on this side. So I'm using the width of the stamp base as my measurement, because then I know that everything is lined up. So this ruler came down, so let me just go back in. There we go. And then with my washi tape, I've got a nice wide tape. You can use sellotape, or you can use the duct tape. Duct tape is good for making sure that it's sturdy, but I don't always use sticky tape or double-sided tape or anything like that, because it's a little bit too sticky and it doesn't give me any room for error. So the washi tape works for me, but you'll find your own way of doing it. So you've got your gully, and then you've got room there for the spine to move away from the covers. So then I turn this over, take the ruler away, and then I flip the mat. It might seem a daft way of doing it, but I'm doing my best to keep this in place. Let's move this out of the way, and then I flip that over, and then I'll just hold it down. There we go. Bring that around, and then I'll do the same on this side. I can see that the line there just needs bringing round a little bit. It is easier on a glass mat. There we go. Let's just bring that round. The next thing that you want to do is to take a bone folder and just burnish down the sides of the spine, and run your finger down the gully, and this will allow the cover of your little folder to be flexible. So there we go. That's the kind of thing that you want, and then that will allow you to put your booklets inside here. Next we are going to cover our folder. Before we start decorating the outside of our booklet, we need to cover the workings of this spine. So this is your inside and this is your outside, and all you're going to do is to take that smaller piece of paper that measured 3 1/4 by 6 1/2, and if you bring it in the side so that they wrap around that center spine, then you're going to stick this like so, and this will cover those workings. But what you'll also need to do is to relocate that hole. So let's stick this down, and then I'll show you how I tackle that hole. So when you have glued down the paper onto the spine, ideally you want to leave it to dry and feel secure. But what you'll then need to do is to find that center hole again and mark it, and then make another hole that goes through the outside of the spine. So you can use a pokey tool or you can use a pen, but you want to find that hole again like so. You're then going to take a second piece of the elasticated twine, and you're going to thread, you make it into a loop, and you're going to thread through the hole like so. And then I found the best way to work out the sizing is to close it up, press the edges together, and then when the booklet's in you're going to measure and pull this around, but I'll show you that at the later date. The main thing to do is to make sure that you've got the rest of this twine going through the hole. So you can either leave it in there and work around it, or you take it out and then rethread it later. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to stick our papers to the outside of our book. All of these sides have now been covered with the paper. I was quite generous with the glue. I glued the cardboard and I glued the paper just to really seal the edges. If you had it available, something like bookbinding glue would be excellent for this, but if not, do what I did and be generous with your glue. And of course give yourself plenty of time for it to dry. So it's coming together now, and you can see that the wiggle room is still there. So imagine that your signature pages have been covered, and these will then slip through this elastic here. So let's just bring through our outside band, so to the center, and then slip these through like so, and like so, and then make sure that you've still got that binding in place, and do your center one. Other times I've also covered this inside part here, but you do need to allow it time to dry. At this point you want to tie yourself a really loose knot. It might be that you will need to adjust this, but you need this piece of twine, elasticated twine, to stay in place. So gently pull it through so that the knot touches the surface. Close your folder and then take the band around, and if you like the measurement, leave it like so, but if you want to tighten it up, then simply go back into the center and then retie your knot. But I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to just tighten it a little bit and then clean up those edges. So there you go, one folder to hold your notelets. So then you can make this spine as wide as you like and hold as many of these signature notelets as you like. So then you want to imagine that you could turn this into a notebook or an address book or a mini journal or a recipe book. The choice is completely up to you. So I hope you'll give it a go. I hope you'll enjoy making it, and then you can move up to other sizes. So here we go.